Good morning, everybody. How are you? Shall we stop learning? No, you want to learn. So we're going to learn about the new age. I'm going to tell you something about what I see that's going to happen in the next future. You will learn a lot today about the new ways of learning in the future, but I do believe that learning as it is today is dead, and I will tell you why. Yes, it's working. I love it. So you remember the good old days? Who was in that kind of schools in the past? Where are the old guys of 60 years old here in the room? You remember this? I remember that. You remember that? Yes, we went with the big bags on our shoulders, and we went to the school full of books. Today, I see children just with an iPad going to school. If they go to school. That's something else. So I think it's going to be finished, and I think that we're going to have a complete new world, because like Sir Robinson says, I suppose everybody knows Sir Robinson, and he's a very, very nice speaker. If you go to YouTube, please watch his YouTube movies about education. But he's right. He says we kill creativity during our education. I remember when my daughter was 3 years old, she was a small girl, and she came to home and she was crying, and she said, "Daddy, we have a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" The problem is that she read drawings, and in the classroom at 3 years old, they received these drawings with these printed drawers on it. You remember that? And they had colors. And so she was coloring all that stuff. So she was learning to color. And she came home and she showed me the picture, and the teacher put in red, "You didn't stick between the lines." I said, "Fuck." Not to my daughter, but I went with my daughter, I went to the teacher and I said, "How is it possible that this paradigm you have in your head is always the same? People have to stick within the limits." And I am somebody who says, get out of the limits. So stop thinking in paradigms, and I can follow Sir Robinson. What is also important to know is that when you see all these children, they have these books in front of them. Now just transform your mind and see a classroom filled with laptops, with iPads, with iPhones, and children are just twittering and using all these kind of new learning systems to become knowledgeable people, because today the knowledge is available everywhere. 24 hours on 24 hours, second by second, nanosecond by nanosecond, you can find all information, all knowledge on internet. So I think it's going to be important that at this point we appear to have a 19th century curriculum in our classrooms. Secondly, 20th century building and organizations. Look at the buildings of our schools. Even if it's in Poland, or it's in Belgium, or even in Peru where I work, I see these classrooms and I get so frustrated. I need antidepressiva. Because the teacher is still in the front of the classroom and you do know nothing. I know everything. That's the teaching of today. This is going to change because the children are asking much more questions about why and how do you see that? Remember yourself when you were a kid. When you were a kid, you asked your father and your mother all the time, why do I have to do this, and what this, and why this, and we get nuts. But today, still in schools, teachers are the big knowledge guys, and the young guys are just the stupid ones. So I think that's going to be changed. Let's look a bit further. A tale of two classrooms. Remember, this is the old one. This is for the robots. The teachers knows everything. Mistakes, wow, you get red stripes. Teacher questions, kids are listening, goal is good grades, memorize facts, finish pages, one size fits all, rules enforced. That is the actual system of learning. On the other hand, the great kids, teachers are learners, mistakes is learning, kids question, kids think, goal is learning, solve problems, create, and one size fits each, rules are unnecessary. That is going to be the shift in the coming century. In the coming decades, I see a complete shift out from the classrooms and where kids can study wherever they were, wherever they are. Learning in the 21st century is learning about any subject, at any time, at any place, in any format, and at any price. Any questions? That's going to be the future of learning. And e-learning will sustain that kind of learning, of course. So if you don't have these e-learning systems, if you're not ready to work in this kind of way, then you're lost, especially in companies. And especially also because these young generations, and I'll show you some movie, and I hope the sound is working, but if it's not working, just please look at the images of the YouTube film. It's very, very nice to see what is going to happen in the next future. So let's go a bit on. The 2020 workplace will be an organizational environment that provides an intensively personalized social experience to attract, very important, to attract, to develop, and engage employees across all generations and geographics. I think it's going to be important that everybody who is working in companies, from the traditional generations to the young generations, will have their learning systems. Don't think that e-learning is the only solution, because the old generations don't know these kind of things. They don't like to work with iPads. They still want the classic classroom studies, of course, but the younger guys don't want it in that way. So the learning systems will be different on different levels. Now this is very important. I don't know if you know John Searle Brown. John Searle Brown was the chief scientist of Xerox. He's now one of the big learning elements, and I just brought a book with me. If you want later on, please ask me for the title. This is a very, very good book. It's called A New Culture of Learning, and it's written by Douglas Thomas and together with John Searle. It's a great, great, great book about what the evolution will be about e-learning in the future. And I think it's going to be very important that we can make a shift from the knowledge transfer, which is the first one, the Homo sapiens. You are Homo sapiens and I am an Homo sapiens. Sapiens means knowing, okay? But you also need the father, the Homo father. It's like what Sally said. It's not about teaching stuff and knowledge transfer. It's about changing a behavior of somebody. And that is very important. So you have to learn how to do it. But very important is the playing, is the Homo ludens. Remember yourself, when you were young, what did you do when you were a half-year-old? What was the first stuff you get as a child? You get tools to play with. You didn't get books, you get tools to play with. Blocks, Lego blocks, whatsoever. Who played Monopoly with his family? Raise your hand. Who plays Scrabble? Right. Who have been reading some books about what's the name again? Harry Potter? Who wrote the books of Harry Potter? You! You still remember the Harry Potter books? Who went on internet and blogging and FaceTiming with all his friends about the Harry Potter books? Who did? Oh, you're the honest one. All these other ones are old ones. But that is the learning system. If you ask generation which are now about 30 years old and you ask them about Harry Potter, they can tell you a lot of stories about Harry Potter because they communicated with their friends in schools and whatsoever. So the social learning was a very important element when we are young. And the more we grow old, the more the system is narrowing our minds in transferring knowledge. And that's the contradiction today in this new century, in the 21st century, is that the knowledge is available. So we don't have to teach knowledge anymore. We have to teach how to get the knowledge. And that is the most important element. So I'm a really believer in what John says. It's about the triangle of these three elements going together. So the more you use plays, the more you use games in your learning, the more you will see that people will adapt and will accept and change their behavior. So the gamification of learning systems in the future, in my opinion, will be very important. So who knows the war of the war of the car craft? What is it called again? This game on internet, the war of Warcraft. Who knows that game? who is playing that game with more than 20 people on internet? Who? Yes, you see, there is two. I see two people who are very social, communicating with other people all over the world. It's a learning system. And I think it will be necessary in the future. So I believe that if you go to internet and you Google in Wikipedia, for example. Oh, you know about Wikipedia? Who knows about Wikipedia? Some people do not know about Wikipedia. You know about Wikipedia? Yes? You know the difference between Wikipedia and the Encyclopedia Britannica? Who still has the Encyclopedia Britannica in his house? You know, all these volumes. I had them when I was young. I saw my father buying it. And those books were standing in our library. I said, wow, my father is very intelligent. And then I tried to take one volume, open it, and I said, uh-oh, who has written this?